Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about the first day of the E Jean Carroll defamation trial. Or you could call this the E Jean Carroll defamation trial 2. You actually could call it the E Jean Carroll defamation trial 1, because just to remind of the episode here, this is the actual first statements that Trump made on the lawn of the White House when the allegations about his sexual assault in 1981 in a Bergdorf Goodman department store first came out. And the reason it's taken several years for this one to go to trial is because there was litigation that went all over the federal courts as to whether or not Trump was acting in his official capacity when he defamed E Jean Carroll on the lawn. It eventually has made its way back, and the Department of Justice changed their view. And in any event, so now there's a consensus and a legal ruling that, in fact, he wasn't acting in his official capacities. But so we're still back then in 2019 when he said basically two things. He said she's making it all up, and then added gratuitously that she's not my type. We've already had another trial in which a jury found that Trump sexually assaulted her. That was part of a law that the New York State legislature passed to give a 1-year window for for people who'd been sexually assaulted, even as far back as she. And then also defamation, though the defamatory statements in that second trial came after the ones here. I just set that up to be able to zero in on what's at stake in this trial. So first, what's at stake is not whether he defamed her. He did. What's at stake is not whether he sexually assaulted her. He did. And the court has ruled that that's just established. And to the extent it's relevant, it just comes in as a fact. So you have the E Jean Carroll lawyer today, not Roberta Kaplan, by the way, but someone else from her firm, say that he made her life miserable, put her in fear, but also had sexually assaulted her. They could, put that out as a fact. Whereas you had Alina Habba, Trump's lawyer, basically say this isn't about the sexual assault that's already been determined. So the focus now is the defamation that he did originally as president, and only damages. It's already been established that he defamed her. And that he sexually assaulted her. Indeed, that he raped her. There was a little bit of, intramural or, skirmish between the parties, if that could be said, based on the evidence at the first trial. And, the judge has ruled it's rape as that term is commonly used. So we have a sexual assault and rape established, and the defamation established, and goes to damages. Okay. So let's talk a little about jury selection. It was darn interesting. There were, we talk about this in other contexts. For example, the Fulton County case where there's, supposedly going to take months and months to choose a jury, which just perplexes me because we're not looking for a jury. It probably wouldn't be possible to find one that doesn't know anything about the events. You just want people who will be honest and can judge the evidence fairly. So there were many people, interestingly, in New York who had things to say. Some believed that Trump the election had been stolen from him. Some believed he's been treated unfairly by the justice system. They asked that question, that he's, actually being treated badly. Some, there were 10 or so who had given to Biden, had given to Democrats. So actual, political contributions, that's not so typical in a jury pool, but this is New York federal court, and it's a fairly sophisticated, well-heeled crowd. Anyway, the people who did say things like, I think he's being treated unfairly, or even I'm for him and I credit his claims, they didn't lose the election, they all said they could be fair. It's interesting. This is going to be a very short trial. And for whatever reason, it seemed that you didn't have the normal rush to the exits with every kind of excuse to get out of serving. You rather had a lot of people who were interested in serving. Now, all the people who did say things like, I think he's being treated unfairly by the system, but I can be fair. All of them were bounced from the jury. There's a system that you probably know about. You can either dismiss somebody for cause if they state a reason under law that they can't be fair. But if they come back and say they could be fair and it's credible, that's not a reason. So then one or other of the parties has to use his or her discrete number of peremptory challenges, which you can just dismiss someone just because, and that's what was done with these folks. So anyway, the jury selection process, pretty interesting for illustrating how you choose a jury in a Trump case, and it happened pretty quickly. Nine people, 7 men, I believe, and 2 women have been seated, and it seemed like they wanted to, and maybe that makes sense. It's an important trial, and it's not going to last very long. It'll be probably about 3 days of testimony. Okay, so we then moved to opening arguments. They were a study in contrast. Trump's lawyer basically called or accused Carroll of being a gold digger, of wanting to, far from suffering from the defamation, actually, wanting to be in the limelight, timing it when he was president in order to be in the limelight, and basically just loving all the attention. And then E Jean Carroll's lawyer painted obviously a very, very different, much darker story. She, to this day, is afraid because of all of she's had, torrents of abuse from Trump followers. She has to sleep. She's an 80-year-old woman. She sleeps with a gun in her bed. Supposedly, she says all her appearances that she was doing before dried up. Her writing, she became less sought after as an author. So extremely different contrast. And I think both these stories are going to have to come through in her testimony, which is going to be the centerpiece, emotional and legal, of the trial, and will happen this morning, Wednesday morning. She's really the chief witness. Now, this is all about damages only, but there's 3 kinds, I would say. In terms of compensatory damages, there's damages for emotional harm is one. And that's all this stuff about how she has to live in fear, how she is, been terrorized by Trump supporters and just dragged through the mill. And then also reputational damage. So that's the more typical kind of damage in a defamation case. And there'll be a real sort of wrangle about that. Did this harm her reputation or not? What would her professional fortunes have been like without it? And then maybe the most important, punitive damages. So the Carroll's lawyer was not shy. He said, look, this is a guy, and it's so true. Like, what is Trump thinking? Today alone, he might have, broken his own record. 22 social media tweets disparaging her, some just flat out repeating the defamation. These lawsuits could go on forever at this rate. That was just something that that Carroll's lawyer could totally pick up and said in oral argument. Now, why, by the way? Because this is about the damage from the defamation in 2019. And the why is punitive damages. They have an overwhelming case, it seems to me. He's just making it for them every day, that Trump is incorrigible. And it will, as they also reminded the jury, may not even be true, but he certainly asserts that he's a billionaire. So what does it take to make this billionaire finally stop defaming this long-suffering plaintiff? And that's going to be a big factor for the punitive damages, because you can factor in, punishing him so he stops, but also punishing him because he's incorrigible and he won't stop even after he's done it. So it seems to me that a fight's being kind of set up over damages and, reputational harm and the like. He's really setting the table for a gargantuan punitive damages award. Now, the information is largely going to be through Carroll. He said it looks as if he may be coming back tomorrow. No less reputable a source than Boris Epstein in the courtroom said so at the end of the day yesterday. But he wouldn't have to testify yet. And then Thursday, we know he's off to the funeral for Melania's mother. So if he were to testify, it would probably be, say, Monday. But, he always talks a good game about testifying. This is different because it's a civil trial. So it's not Axiom 1, where, which is he can never testify in a criminal trial. Here in a civil trial, among other things, if he doesn't testify, there can be an adverse inference. But basically, I think, even if he were an impressive and credible witness, and he is neither, wouldn't say very much about her damages, her emotional harm in particular, and some of her reputational harm. So that's going to really, the battle there is all going to be with E Jean Carroll herself, her testimony. Her lawyer in direct will first try to put in all the kind of especially fear and suffering. And, this powerful man with the biggest bullhorn in the world humiliating her. And then it'll be on cross-examination. It's a bit of a delicate task. This comes up in sexual assault cases. You want to be, as a defendant, you want to be maybe forceful, but not overbearing. And that doesn't seem to be a balance that Alina Habba is very good at drawing. She's fairly acerbic, and you can imagine that she'll be sarcastic and otherwise challenging to Carroll in a way that will only harm her with the jury. But that's the centerpiece that's coming in, and that will go to damages. Part reputation. The biggest thing I think will be emotional harm, and he's looking at a potentially gargantuan punitive damages verdict because he keeps doing it. He's considered rich, and they might calculate an amount to make him stop. So the big centerpiece of the trial coming in, very shortly when E Jean Carroll takes the stand, and we'll have the contrasting scenarios of the pain she suffered, or to hear Trump's lawyer Alina Habba tell it, her enjoyment of the limelight, and that'll be what I think really matters first, second, and third for the jury when they go back into the deliberation room, which is going to all play out quite soon. We're talking about a trial that'll be over in a week. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.